Alright, March 24th, it's about 6:45 p.m. I just got home. Probably almost visible in the back of the truck, a washer and dryer. But I don't know, $340 for the set, used, not matching, don't care. Electrics. And now they're getting wet. So okay, washer and dryer. 3-year or 3-month warranty on a used washer and dryer. Total cost $366.96. It's a Kirkland washer and a Frigidaire dryer. I saw their ad in Craigslist, on Craigslist. Anyway, basic, top loader, probably a large capacity, and electric dryer. The guy was like, do you need a 3-pin or a 4-pin cord, right? And I was familiar enough with what I was looking at to know that neither one of them would be right. All right. So what I bought, 4-pin twist lock 30 amp NEMA 14-30, I think is what it was called. And that matches what's on the generator for the 220 outlet. Okay, 30 amp. 15 feet of Romex 4-wire. It's essentially, it's called, wait, let's look at the receipt. Yeah, 10-3, 15 feet. So it's actually 3 plus ground. So I'm like, okay, once I figured that out, I'm like, okay, good, now I know what to look for. I figured 10 gauge would probably be enough. Short run. I spent $70 on the parts to make my own cord. Like, what? I don't have a moving cart, which would be perfect for something like this, because you could slide that down the tailgate and you'd be okay. What I've done, for temporary, I'm going to set it outside. I brought up some dirt, just so that if it does rain, this isn't sitting down in a puddle. I raised that up quite a bit, more than I need to. I managed to slide the washer down onto this step here, and that's holding it pretty nicely. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to rotate it and try to lay it down on top of the wheelbarrow and hopefully balance it enough to get it to where I want it, and then pick it up and scooch it around. Down we go. Things like doors that try to bite you, you know, what are you gonna do? wire is lighter than the washer. Let's see in a minute. I think that's the case though. That's about the best. Nothing is ever easy. Here's a dramatic effect here. This should be everything that we need. Always good to have. I got some white electrical tape that I can write on, which is nice. Strippers, a knife, screwdriver, wire cutters. Don't need that. And a bag. So this represents about $60 worth of parts. That's just frightening. The wire I got 15 feet of 10-3, which is actually 4 wires, which is 4220. So you got red, white, black, and a ground. All right. And this matches what is on the generator. And this is NEMA L14-30P, I think for plug. On the connectors itself, it should have a number that starts with NEMA. So if you're trying to make up a special cable, look on your connector and try to read the NEMA number, and then just look for that number when you get to the store, and you should be right on. G ground, Y, white, X, Y. Okay. G is ground, white is common, X and Y are either red or black. Alright, so I'm going to cut some of the sheet out of the way. Step one, so you don't forget, is get this thing going through your plug-in, because there's nothing more annoying than putting one together and then realizing you get this on, but you can't get the... Actually, in this case, I just pushed it down 15 feet of wire, but you know what I mean. Taking it apart, I labeled what color was on there, and that's based on what's on the inside. So there's a red, a green ground, and a black. And on the label, it's called the center one common, which makes sense. So that basically means I'm going to wire this to chassis ground, white to common, red and black to red and black. Obviously you don't do this with the power on. In my case that's easy because I can tell if the generator's running because it's loud. I don't have power on. But still, anytime you're mucking about with wires, stop and ponder. Are you energized? That would be bad. Tickles the first time, but after that it kills you. So. First time I tried one of these, they're about $1.45 at Walmart. 20 grams of protein. That ain't bad. This wire is stiff enough, it really makes it fiddly. Give myself so I can see into the clear part, make sure I'm all the way in. I'll double check it before I think I'm finished. But So to summarize, try to identify what color should be in each spot. G is ground, that's typically your bare copper wire. White is common, that should be labeled as W for white. In this case, the other two are red and black. Forget everything you know about DC wiring. A typical 3-wire 120 plug would have white, black, and green or bare copper. Bare copper would be ground. White is common. Black is hot. The red is the second of the hot wires, which gives you 220. Doesn't seem like it makes sense, but this is the case. Last step is give it a good hard pull, because you do not want this to come apart inside on you. If it doesn't move, you're okay. Right. Now, I'm going to put the cover on it. Now there's a keyway that this has to hit to line up. And you got to find the screws, so let's try it this way first. Looks like it's working. Get them started again before you bring them all the way in. Get them both started. Make sure it seems like it's flat. That's good. And then the last step, kind of push it in a little bit, and then you're going to tighten these down, which clamps it to the cord. In case you trip over it, you don't yank your connectors out. Hopefully. And this end is done. Feels nice and solid. Okay. And each of the 4 is going to get a terminal in, so I don't care about that. I'll just give myself some room here. Slice it open again. Open it up. When you're slicing it, try to be paying attention. Don't slice into your wires on the inside. This has the paper sheath in underneath the rubber. That helps a little bit. Running a dryer off a generator probably isn't in anybody's mind. This is why there does not appear to be a cord that you can buy to connect this. But we're not really in an unsafe area because the dryer is set up to be used either with 3-wire or 4-wire. I also suspect these aren't really made for solid wire. Enough said, right? I'll just make up for a really, really hard cramp. If it doesn't pull off, it's okay. If it pulls off, you're dead. Ground is green, L1, neutral, L2 is how they labeled it. L1 and L2 are the hot, neutral is white. Okay, so we'll be connecting to that, and then ground is green, which is going up to here. So here's our green. If you look up inside, I think it'll show up in here. If I can get it to focus in that. Up underneath, you may not be able to see it. There's a red wire, a green wire, and a black wire. All right, that's what we're connecting to. So we're putting screws into these terminals here that connect to the wires up there. All right. So I'm going to push the wire up into here, and then hit that, and then the last one will go to here for ground. All right. Then I'm going to wonder where this goes. Mainly, it's just a matter of these wires are too stiff to be bending around in a tight spot like that. Generator. spreader. Here's the connector we're going to use. And the way this is set up, one of these has a tab right there. That's the top one. Line it up, push it in, twist it a little bit. Now it's locked in and won't go anywhere. Alright, cool. Switch on. Throttle control off. We'll just let that go. Yep, it's getting hot. Totally works. Totally. We're done. That part worked. Alright, now I got a laundry room. You know, the thing is, one day for a couple of hours every week or so, take the tarp off, I run my couple loads of laundry, put the tarp back on, I'm done. Alright, laundry day. So I had the tarp, the blue tarp, wrapped around this to sort of keep it clean, but after the windstorms, I'm sure it helped a little bit. Also, it got rained on out here, but this is something to think about, is the sooner I can build a proper shelter, the better. The sun is just up. It's Sunday morning, April 1st, April Fool's Day. That's I'm sure something will happen today that'll make that make sense. So this is the pump. Pulls 3 amps, 12 volts, rated at 2.8 gallons per minute at 45 psi. Okay. This is an on-demand pump. The switch on the end here. When water is flowing, the pump will run. When you shut off the water, like if you turned off a tap, the pressure will build up. When it hits 45 psi. That's telling the pump that there's no more water flowing, so then the pump will shut off. Now it'll hold pressure in the line, so if, say if, I don't know which way is in or out here. Okay, it flows this way, so let's say water flows this way, you got your tank here, it goes out here to your tap, your shower, your washing machine, whatever. So between here and the tap that's closed, you've got 45 psi. The water is pressurized. As soon as you open the tap, you get immediate flow. When the pressure in the switch drops, the pump says, oh, we need water. So it turns on the pump again and it keeps flowing. Now you're probably not going to see 45 psi because the water is flowing, but as soon as you shut the water off, the pressure builds up, boom, switch says, okay, we got 45 psi, shut the pump off. That's how these work. This one came with a little strainer, which would screw onto here. Yeah, on the inlet side, that just keeps you from sucking algae into the pump. And then it also has these little fittings. This is for the inlet and outlet, so one of the fittings is already here. What I'm looking at, I bought specifically for this project a cheap Walmart 25-foot garden hose. Now what I'm going to do, on the washer there's 2 hoses. Oh good, I got the right one. Yes, okay. So the washer has 2 hoses, one for hot and one for cold. I don't have hot water. The washer has, I believe, electrically controlled valves, solenoid operated valves, which would then tell it to, the controller would send a signal, the valve would open, water comes in at the right time. When it's got enough water, it sends a signal, shut off the valve. They're probably spring-loaded closed, would make sense. Odds are, if I only told it to wash with cold water, it would draw from the cold, leave the hot shut off. Okay, so we probably don't need to do that. If I can get away with running one hose, I will, but I like the idea of hooking up both hoses to this and then feeding from the pump into here. So what I'm going to be doing is cutting off this hose, figure out where I want to put the pump. Very likely set the pump on this workbench, for instance. Everything I'm doing is temporary, and it's more work than it would be if I just did it permanently, but I don't have the place put together where I want to put it permanently, is the problem. The pump is self-priming, and supposedly it won't hurt it to run it dry. And I honestly don't know yet how much water I need to do a load of wash. This was the only hose clamp kit that was available, so you get 2 that are too small, 2 that are too big, and 2 that are way too big. Yeah, go figure. This kind of thing, what's going to happen, this is set up for 1/2 inch, these are 5/8 inch. So I think what's going to happen is I'm going to take electrical tape, wrap it around here a few times, slide it on so I get a decent fit, hose clamp it down, being careful this is plastic so I don't kill it, and we'll hope for the best. This will hook up to the battery post. I got a nice little length of wire, and it's nice heavy gauge wire. I think these are probably 10 gauge. That'll run the pump easily. I've got one of my breaker switches so I can shut the pump off without disconnecting it from the battery. This is a 20 amp switch breaker, so you can turn it on or off, but it also will kick if it has a dead short. That's nice. Some whatchamacallit, screw terminals, strippers, cutters, crimpers. For now though, this kind of makes me feel bad, but my hose is about 5/8 and the fitting is for 1/2 inch. That leaves me 1/8 of an inch too big. So if you run about 1/16 of an inch of electrical tape around it. Alright, so basically the way you do it, and electrical tape is a little bit soft. So in theory, wrap this around a bunch of times, and it'll kind of form a gasket, is the idea. Now I'm doing this outside in the desert. If I have a water leak, not a big deal. Not like I have to clean up the laundry room if this leaks. Okay, so now we got a nice wad of tape on there. Just gonna slip fit in there. Hey, look at that. It's actually not a bad fit. That was the first try. You won't believe me, but it's true. So, hyper tough. That makes me feel very confident. Yeah, too big, and the other one was too small. Now, this is one of those fun hacks. If you do a lot of hose clamps, don't use the screw end. They have a hex head on them. This screwdriver, I missed this. I have 2 of these. For years I didn't realize this, but these ends are not the same. So the size of the hex head on this and this one is smaller, this one is bigger. Check that out. Now I've got a socket that fits my hose clamp. Doesn't slip off. Look for these. I think Harbor Freight has them, and I bought this at an auto parts store. I've got 3 of these now. So when I'm using that, figure out which one you need. Put the other bit back in so you don't lose it right away. But you got a little Phillips and a straight, a big Phillips and a straight, and 2 hex drivers. And one of them usually matches your hose clamp. And if you look, the littlest hose clamp is a different size. No, that one doesn't fit. Okay, so these hose clamps are not always the same size, so keep that in mind. But odds are you may get lucky. If not, then you just got to do the hard way. Might be 1/4 inch. Find a socket that matches that. That's worth doing. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but that's the coyotes yipping. That's always fun. Okay, this is going to be slightly messy. Don't really care. I just want to see water flow. So this is actually a very similar setup to how I take my shower, except I have wired it a little better, but I just jam the wires right into my 12 volt Bosch battery for my drills and stuff. So without even putting a connector on, I've just checked that this will reach the contact enough in there. And this is actually quite quiet. I was surprised. Check this out. So it should be able to start water flow from the trash can, which is just right next to us here. So if it works, we'll get water to come out. Just like that. So we got water. Okay. I just wanted to prove that it would work before I got too far into this. This is a 7-wire trailer junction box. I'm just going to bring this in through the side, red and black to red and black, and I'm not going to mess with anything else. Okay. And then that long wire that I had earlier, I'll bring it in the other side, connect it to the battery, and I'll just wire the switch in line from the battery. Okay. For a temporary thing like this kind of works out really nice. I can just run the wires in, screw them down, tighten down the nuts, and you're done. All right. Oh, also, this didn't leak, but that's on the suction side, so I'm not too worried about that. This one is probably going to leak. I'll just keep an eye on it, and if it leaks a lot, I'll put a bucket underneath it and catch the water. Yeah, I just picked the red and the black. Keep it simple. Drop a washer on top to kind of give them nice contact. Put the nut on there. Spin them down by hand, and added bonus, this is about the right size, so same as the hose clamp. Makes it nice. If you're going to do this kind of stuff a lot, figure out what size that is and use a nut driver or a socket. Put them together, and then they come with the screws. The knockouts are basically the grommets, I guess. Some of them have holes in them, so you can run the wires through that and then lock it down. A couple turns down here just to keep it together. I didn't tighten up the strain relief at all. There is, you can pull the wires through the loop, and it's got screws that you can tighten them down so that it doesn't get yanked out. This is all temporary. I'll probably just take the whole thing apart after today because I'm going to move the washer somewhere else. So good enough for that. Now the last thing, I'm going to wire a switch into the red wire here. This is the end for the battery, so I'm not hooked up right now. So to wire the switch, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put terminals on that. That's probably too long. And none of this is high precision right now. This is literally a piece that I found in the bus left over from a different project, so I figured I'd use it. Good solid crimp. And the switches I'm using are complete overkill for what I'm doing. I just happen to have them. I think these switches are probably 50 bucks a piece. Pretty cool. Built-in breaker. This one's rated at 20 amps, so it's basically a 20 amp breaker that's also the switch. Red on, off. All right. Screwdriver. They got nice screw jacks on them. Terminal ends I'm using are the wrong size. They're a little bit wonky going on, but they work. At this point, as long as it works. It's just nice to have a switch that I can turn off really quick if things go horribly wrong instead of trying to undo the battery really quick. That's basically it. The problem with this kind of a pump, the one thing to be aware of, this is what's in your RV. And it's going to be pretty common on an off-grid type system. It's made to start pumping when it sees a pressure drop. If you have a leak, that'll count as a pressure drop. It'll pump your tank dry, trying to build up pressure. So however much water you have is how much water will be on your floor when you come home because you had a leak. That is one of the reasons that RVs have a switch that turns this pump off when you're not actually using it. So if you're not taking a shower, washing your dishes, washing your hands after you use the bathroom, turn the switch off. That way you don't, once the switch is off, this pump isn't going to run. That's why I wired a switch here. Okay. So when I'm not using it, I turn it off. When I am using it, turn it on, and I'm being aware. If I hear this pump running when I'm not expecting it to run, that means I probably got a leak. And you notice this pump is pretty quiet. So if this was in an RV under a cabinet somewhere with all your other stuff thrown on top, which is usually what happens, you may not hear the pump running, which normally would be nice because you don't want to hear it. But then you got a leak and you don't even know you've got a leak, and it's sitting there pumping water everywhere. All right. This side is red, that side is black. Skateboard wrench just happens to be, again, the right size for the terminals I'm using. Why not use it? And this battery, like all my batteries, is just completely trashed right now. The battery box I made, I didn't take the time to actually seal it, and there's a pretty good air gap, and with the wind it just filled it full of dirt, so everything is just mucked up. Generator's off, so the washing machine should be closed valves. This will give me an idea if this connection is going to hold or not. So I'll switch on. Okay, I can see the hose moving. We'll compress the air and it'll get to pressure. How about that? It's at pressure, but the hose is full of water right now. It's not leaking, that's a good sign. Now if I open up one of the fittings, the pump will start on. So I'm going to do that just to bleed the air out. Okay, now I've got a slow leak over here. Tighten it back up again. Okay, for now I'm going to shut the water off so we know that part's working. And at this point I don't have a gushing leak, so I'm okay. I'm happy with that. I've been out here coming up on a year now, and I'm just now getting the laundry set up, and my reasoning was it made more sense at first because I worked in El Paso to do laundry there, because I was already going to El Paso anyway. Now that I don't work in El Paso, it made sense to do laundry here because I get that 2 hours back, but I still have to haul water and I burn gasoline to run the generator. So it wasn't an obvious choice as much as you think it would be. From the trash can, through the pump, which is powered from the battery. Battery voltage comes in through the switch, through the 7-wire box to the pump. You notice the pump sitting funny? That's because the weight of the hose is pulling it down. Not a big deal. Okay, then we follow the green hose. The hose was dripping a little bit, so I threw this underneath. Water goes into the washing machine. Then the big black hose is the drain. What I did with that, this might be a problem because it's a little bit undersized. I'm not sure how that's going to work out. The hose from here on is a 3/4 inch hose, and it's probably too small. So what I did, I just electrically taped it on there, sort of a seal. If that becomes a problem, I'm going to put that, I'm going to untape it real quick, aim it into here, and then deal with that. That might be a problem because I think that's not enough water capacity. That only holds 17 gallons, so I'll keep an eye on that. But because I had this hose, I don't even remember how long it was now. 25, 50 feet originally. I've cut it off a few times. So that comes out here, and like everything else is held down by a tire. This is where it reaches to, so I figured, okay, I dug a little trench into the bushes. Okay. They probably don't like soap, but they'd enjoy the water. All right. Generator, Starting, I've got about a half a tank, all right? Just for my own note taking later, I want to see how many gallons of gas it takes to do a load of laundry. I need to remember to bring gas home if I'm going to do laundry. I don't have any more gas right now. And then the last thing, like anything else with the generator, make sure you check your oil before you run it. Okay, we're about at the moment of truth. So what I'm going to do, last thing before I commit to actually doing laundry in here, which seems kind of silly, but I did clean most of the sand out. So I'm going to do, get around here so you can see it. Because this was a used rebuilt washer, I just want to make sure it all works before I get too far into running a full load kind of thing. So two things. One, I want to make a reference mark inside the washer how much water it puts in on small, medium, large, super, plus, okay? Because I'm thinking I should be able to recycle about half the water that I use. The rinse water is going to be essentially pretty clean with a little bit of soap in it. That should be fine to put back in on the next cycle. It's already got a little bit of soap. It's mostly not dirt anymore, okay? So if I rinse with clean water and reuse the rinse water from the last cycle, that's my thinking, all right? If I know how full the washer gets when it gets too small, I'm going to make a mark in there, and then I could take a bucket of water and dump it in there. And that's part of the other test. Does this use a level sensor to know how much water it is, or is it running a timer so that it opens up the valve and runs it for a minute until it gets full? I don't think so. I think it uses a level sensor to see how much water it's got. And then if I change it to medium, it should come up again. Okay, so I'm going to do that first, mark it at each level so I know small, medium, large, super, how high it'll go. Then I can just take a bucket of water and dump it in there, and then it'll fill up until it gets to the right level. Okay, so I can recycle at least 5 gallons, and it's better than nothing. All right, so I'm going to do kind of a short cycle on that, go through, make sure it spins, make sure it does all of what it's supposed to do, and then I'm going to go do a real load. I got this on small. I'm going to leave temperature on cold so it just runs off one hose, but it doesn't matter. Extra rinse off, cycle, signal off, and this has got power, so I think if we pull it on, it'll start. Yep. Alright, we're filling. So it's going to fill until it gets to the small load setting. Then it should stop, and then I'll make a mark. No leaks so far. I'm kind of hurrying it up a little bit. Probably a good idea. It's right next to the generator. That's got a level sensor. It should stop flowing as soon as it gets high enough. There we go. Got the water off. Now I gotta look for leaks again because it's right. A little bit of soap. Alright, he thinks I got enough water for medium. I'm gonna go to large. Get some of that water that we dumped out there. Drain with the lid open. Okay, a little recap here. That load is finished. Check the towel. They spun out nice and dry. So that's good. I'm gonna get ready to, I got the dryer dragged into position. For right now, I just got the hose attached to the back and it's gonna go somewhere. I haven't decided where. It's gonna blow dust no matter what I do. So I'm gonna probably try to aim it up a little bit just to keep it out of the dust. Okay. That was a large cycle. Okay. This is how much wastewater I've got all together. Okay, this is 26 gallon can, that's 17, about half full, so let's say 10 gallons there, so let's say 35, 40, 45, let's say I had about 45 gallons of water, okay? Because I caught everything that came out. Now, some of this I'm going to reuse on the next load. That one was the last. That should be pretty clean, so I'm going to put that in. These are pretty clean. That would be kind of dirty. But if I use once used water with the soap in it, I'm not going to add any more soap this time and see how the clothes feel when I'm done. Okay? Because I got way too much soap in there. It took a lot for it to rinse out. So I'm going to reclaim a lot of that and then use strictly fresh water for the rinse. And so what I'm going to do is, knowing what level the washer filled to last time, I'm going to add a lot of this water first and then let the washer fill itself until it gets to a full level. Okay? Now I'm not going to reuse any of this for the rinse because it's got soap in it. You wouldn't normally use one of these pumps that much. Okay? So like right now, it's warm but not hot. I was going to say these are cooled by the water, but they're not. The water stays in the orange part here. It doesn't. This is where the electric motor is. So these would not be cooled by the water. My first thought was it got hot because I ran the tank dry, but they aren't cooled by water. Okay. Supposedly they won't be damaged by sucking air. There we go. Cool. So I'm going to work on this side a little bit and kind of keep an eye on the other side. I'm going to dig this out so it flows out easier. But this will soak into the ground fast enough that the bushes will absorb it. It's basically a creek here anyway, so rainy season we're going to have a lot of water flowing through here. I just happened to be walking by when this started. This is freaking hilarious. That's one new pair of jeans. I sure hope that's going to show up because that is blue as all blue. That's hilarious. That's right, I got a hand truck. The wheelbarrow was just even too sketchy for me. Now, I'm going to get some scraps and then set it down on there again. Ow. So much easier. $30, best money ever spent. It's almost fun doing it this way. Alright. Get this in one shot even. Every bus should have an outside laundry room. This is what happens when you leave your washing machine outside in the desert in a windstorm. Now this has been tarped the whole time. The tarp didn't blow off. Just full of sand. Thanks for watching. If you got anything out of this, I'm amazed, but yeah, cool. Feel free to add any comments or whatever. Please like and subscribe and share. We're at a point right now where for my channel personally, I'm not at a high enough level to be getting YouTube monetization yet. They just changed everything on us about a month ago. So all the new videos are currently not earning money. When I get the numbers up high enough, then I'll be eligible for their new monetization program. You viewing and liking and sharing helps me get back up to that entry level again. And at the rate things have been going, I think this will be the year where I'll make money anyway. The interesting point now is the growth has been fast enough that I'll just keep putting videos up, and I suspect by the end of this year we'll be making money anyway. So thanks for that. Anyway, stay tuned. There's going to be more exciting stuff coming soon.